real gem in the crown here is that they give, unless I'm forgetting something, I think the best showing of a game to be released of all time. 45 minutes, comprehensive, not holding anything back.
I don't disagree.
It is the best one of all time, and that's on top of an already solid showcase from a manufacturer that routinely doesn't have that great of showcases, and after 2 other showcases that disappointed, this is what solidified it as a 10-10 to me. Crayton, we'll pass it over to you. Take it any way you want.
Yeah, take your time.
What's Starfield for you?
I'm super excited. I was already excited. I'd say I was probably 9 out of 10 excited before I saw this. Now I'm like a 12 out of 10.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Bethesda's always done this type of thing. Like Skyrim, I think when they showed it off, they did like a 20-minute gameplay breakdown, and Fallout, I think, was about the same.
Yeah, I remember that for Fallout 4.
But this one was much longer, but I think it's because the game is bigger. There's way more to it.
Yeah.
So I just thought everything looked amazing. The adoring fan, when they showed
that was such like a...
I got choked up. I choked up.
I almost teared up seeing that.
It's like a crowd pleaser moment.
Oblivion is my favorite game of all time. And
yeah, that's my second.
It was almost like they transported me back to my childhood when I was playing Oblivion for a second.
They nailed it.
It's the same voice actor.
What did he say? It wasn't by Azura.
I don't know.
He said something just like that, though.
It was like, by Terra, by Terra, by Terra.
Yeah. This is amazing.
And then I don't know if you caught it, they said the traits, which is the adoring fan is a trait.
Yeah.
Like the negative aspect of traits, you can find a way to get rid of them, and then it's like it showed them killing the adoring fan, and that's up to you. That's up to you to decide how you want to get rid of that trait.
And that's the thing I love about I've always loved about Bethesda is they're so tapped into their audience and like the in-universe memes and the things that people do, and it seems like they tapped into that here. And then when they give this showcase, to me, they covered every, we talk about vertical slices of games. It's like they gave us every vertical slice we'd want to see to get a full comprehensive picture of what the game is. Like, do you guys feel like there's anything they left out? Like, I wouldn't want another 45 minutes on top of this because I'm like, I want to wait to play the game now.
Yeah.
You know?
I would have liked to have seen maybe more of how the dialogue system works because that was a big complaint with Fallout 4.
Yeah. But it looked better.
It looks more like
and no voice protagonist.
Fallout 3, Oblivion, where you can actually persuade people on their skill checks and... it looks awesome. I was watching. Did you guys watch the Ryan McCaffrey IGN
No, I'm
interview?
gonna listen to that.
No.
Yeah.
He said he was concerned that when they showed all these chunks of different gameplay sections, that like the ship combat, it would be kind of like a gimmick. Like you'd get tired of it after 30 minutes. He said he got to play for an hour. He said the impression he got is that every vertical slice of the game that they showed is fully fleshed out. You're not going to get tired of it. So even the space combat, like. They said you can dock with enemy ships and board them.
Oh man,
go on board.
I got so excited.
He said he boarded a ship and like there was some issue with the grav drive on the ship while he boarded it. So like an alarm would go off and the gravity would shut down and it would go 0G.
That's
and
awesome.
Oh, wow.
He said he'd be shooting the shotgun and it would kick him back because it's
the recoil. Yeah,
and then the gravity would come back on and he'd get pulled back to the deck.
Oh,
so,
that sounds.
It looks like a generational title, right? This looks like something that'll go down with your Skyrims and your Breath of the Wilds and. I don't know, Last of Us, games like that get talked about 10 years later still. And I think that's what they're setting up for this game to be. And, I think it's so funny, like, me and Josh have went back and forth over the last year or two in the podcast saying, like, yeah, we're excited for Starfield in the sense that it's Bethesda and it's their next big game, but, like, we haven't really seen much yet.
Right.
But then there was a point, I think 1, 2, or 3 podcasts ago where I was like, people are forgetting that this is Bethesda. They've made some of the best games of all time. We should be excited about this. There's no reason to believe they're not. I know there's the Fallout 76 thing, but that wasn't completely them. That was a different type of game.
Todd Howard didn't direct that game.
And then people go, well, what about Fallout 4? Fallout 4 was a great video game. Like, it was not...
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's Josh's favorite. Yeah. I think to most people it's either 3 or New Vegas. But to me, it wasn't up to that. But it was still so strong.
Fallout 4, my biggest complaint, 2 complaints were the dialogue system and the settlement building.
Yeah, I didn't.
Dialogue
like the
system
stuff.
looks to be fixed in Starfield, and the settlement building looks better in Starfield for 2 reasons.
It can be ignored.
One, they're doing like almost like a Forge mode camera now, where you can fly around and you can create.
Yeah.
In Fallout 4, you had to do it all first person, which was a pain.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that it seems to be based around doing outposts on different planets is way cooler to me than going to some predetermined position and doing a settlement.
I agree.
Crayton, what are some other moments that stood out for you from that? I mean, there's a lot, but...
I'm surprised at how good the game looks visually, because...
It does look good.
I feel like Bethesda at one point was known as being groundbreaking visuals. I think when Oblivion came out, everyone thought it looked...
Because HD.
Incredible.
2005.
But then, as they went on, more and more people are just like, oh, their games look like crap. They run like junk. This one looks beautiful. The graphics are beautiful. The lighting's great.
Do any of us here care that it's 30 frames? I don't care at all.
It would be nice to have 60, but I don't really care.
I agree. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
The animations look better than they've ever done. The facial animations, the facial animations,
absolutely.
They don't leave you nightmares.
I love so much that they went back to the Oblivion dialogue where it zooms in on
on their face. I love that's my favorite.
So good.
That is iconic Bethesda.
It is.
I have so much nostalgia for talking to all the different orcs that had the same voice actor in Oblivion, and it was just their round potato-shaped faces.
Yeah.
And I loved that stuff, and I loved how things froze in the background. I mean, I know some people didn't like that.
I'll never not laugh at "You're the one from my dreams."
Yeah. The stars are right.
You sleep rather soundly for a murderer.
Lucian LeChance.
What do you guys? I know we're going all over the place here, but let's just because really Starfield is not that far away from this recording. Like,
sure,
life will pass by in a blink, but I will be there. Let's just right now for fun, and if you want to be hyperbolic, go for it. What do you think? And we're gonna go with. So I'm gonna ask you what you think it'll get for review scores, and obviously different people are gonna give different review scores. Do you think this? So when you say, let's say you say a 10, what you're saying to me is you think half or more of the people are going to give it a 10. If you say a 9, half of them are going to give it a 9. Where do you think, or what kind of Metacritic score, where do you think Starfield is going to get for scores?
I will just say, I think it's going to be roughly about what Tears of the Kingdom is getting. Which 96, is like a 90,
5,
It's going to be high, mid-90s.
Okay. What would you say, Crayton, before I go to Josh, if you had to say, what's one thing that reviews are going to mention as a major criticism? If they all have like this
30 frames.
30 frames.
They're already going to start.
You think the bugs? I've heard there's an army of QA testers on this game, and it's not. I think
because of them pushing it back and the fact that they've been making this game for 8 years and Microsoft's involved, and we know Microsoft has actually had more of a hands-on approach.
Did you guys see that interview? I think it was this morning. Phil Spencer, or maybe it was last night. Phil Spencer said that this game, before they acquired it, was going to come out earlier than 2022.
Yeah, well, then Jason Schreier was saying like there were words inside the studio that a lot of people working on it were saying this is going to be another cyberpunk situation if we release it.
And Microsoft, this is an instance of Microsoft being a good thing for acquiring a company. Josh, what would you say for scores when this comes out?
Oh man, well yeah, if I can go on my thoughts for a bit, with that, I think I'm going to be dead wrong. I mean, I think I was saying before, I think maybe it will be a 7 out of 10. I think, this is probably going to be closer to what Crayton said about Tears of the Kingdom. I could see this scoring really high after seeing the deep dive. I mean, right away, one of the biggest things I saw was you can see the whole difference in the year. Like, I feel like last year when we saw it, it was very stuttery. You could see the frame issues.
The faces look a bit different too. There's something about the way that the skin looks.
They've spruced it all up.
It is all spruced up. You can see the year differences improved so much. I'm not as good when it comes to detecting 60 versus 30, but there were times when I was watching it where the combat looked so smooth as butter. I didn't notice a lot of stutter or jank.
If that IGN interview with Ryan McCaffrey, he asked him about id's involvement, and he said id didn't actually help with the combat at all. What they helped with was taking some of the engine features that they have in id Tech and using them to make the gameplay a bit smoother for Starfield.
Right. Yeah.
So like one thing he said was like their motion blur, however they're doing that, id showed them how to do that so it feels smoother.
Can you imagine if we get the like improvements that like Skyrim and Fallout 4 brought, but with the mood and the depth of Oblivion? Like, holy shit.
Oh, dude, that'd be dope.
Good.
I loved, one of the biggest things I wanted to see more was a better sense of the story, because I feel like they were last year was essentially this, but summarized in like 5 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes, whatever it was. So I loved seeing all the different places you can visit, like basically the hubs, like New Atlantis, yeah, stuff like that. And seeing all the different people walking around. They were talking about how these characters are going to have their own dialogue, talking to one another, having conversations, so you might be able to walk up and eavesdrop on something. That's the stuff I love in these games, because it makes it feel like the world's alive, and it's not just waiting for me to like get there and then do stuff. Yeah. It's living and breathing. The way they talked about how you can pick up companions, and some of them, like, you can either have them in your ship, or, you can have this person on a base that you have for, a settlement basically on some random planet. It makes the stuff I was least interested in was the planet stuff, the procedurally generated stuff. But getting a better look at how you can utilize the base building, but also putting people there, that's awesome to me, because there's going to be people I maybe find on a random planet that I'm like, oh, I can't stand this guy, but his stats are good. I'm going to put him on this base, and he can stay here, and I never have to see him unless I.
It seems like a lot of the things that people didn't like in Fallout 4 have been included in Starfield and perfected. Like, yeah. Fallout, you could assign people to your settlements and have them work.
Yep.
But like, who cared? Like, this, it's like you can assign them to your spaceship, and they're going to be able to improve your spaceship. Like, you'll have better energy weapons, or based on who you assign to crew. It's giving me like Firefly vibes.
I can see that, yeah. And the way they showed off the customizing the ship stuff, how you can build it, enhance it, and they were even specifically saying how there's a more simplified, streamlined way to do it, and then there's, if you want to be more complex, you can go in depth.
I'll go streamline.
Yeah, and that's fair, but I mean that's cool. They're giving the option.
They showed like the one that looked like Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
And something you said, Crayton, that I thought was really cool because it was from they said it in the showing of Starfield, but like there's going to be planets you go to, there's just nothing there.
Yeah.
And that's the experience they want you to have. Like
there's that quote, I can't remember if it was Buzz Aldrin or Neil Armstrong, but when they landed on the moon, he described it as magnificent desolation. And I think that's the vibe they're going for.
They should put that in the back of the box for Starfield.
They probably can't. But yeah, it kind of goes along with the NASA punk
parentheses
thing.
of the desolation of smog.
They said the vibe is NASA punk is what they're going for.
Yeah.
So,
which is very cool.
There was another interview with Todd Howard where he said like they want that experience of you landing on a planet and there's nothing there and you're just watching like the planet go by in the distance and it's a lonely.
When there's over 1,000, you can afford to have.
And they talked about what is the sun, the system, and the way the light will shift depending on the.
Yeah, and the one part like you see a moon off in the distance and he's like, yeah, you can actually go to that moon.
Yeah.
But it also rotates around the planet in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was really happy with that. I mean, the UI looks really good when they were showing different backgrounds and stuff you can select, the way you create your character, those options. I'm definitely one of those people that spend so long.
I guess Demon Souls started the trend where you're going to be able to customize your character's teeth.
Yeah.
I guess
I did. I remember
now.
them showing that, yeah. But even the way they walk, I remember you could have different options for that. It looks all so incredibly well detailed. And this was like, I mean, my biggest takeaway was that for like, what is it, 45 minutes or whatever? 45 minutes. It was so cool to see that because I was hoping for, when they said Starfield Direct, immediately following, I'm thinking like 20 minutes, tops probably. And then they're like, I'm watching it, I'm live reacting, and on that recording, I'm like, okay, is that, they're going to come back to
just
Todd.
Kept going.
They'll come back to Todd when it's like when they're wrapping up. And it just keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. And then it would flash over to the employees, and they're talking about some of their favorite things, and obviously the romance options.
I loved all that.
Yeah, I mean, every bit that they showed made me feel better, made me feel more confident about the game. And the thing is, too, is that the parts that I was more on the least favorable side of, which was like the procedurally generated stuff, sort of like the looting and all that stuff. All that is retroactively like improved. It looks good enough on its own, what they showed in this, but then because I see how everything else looks so good, it makes me want to go do that stuff.
I love how it seems like the last few games they've kind of been simplifying the games a bit. This game, it looks like they're going back to like having a lot of really technical features. Like when you're in the spaceship, you can change the power levels for your different systems.
Oh yeah.
Like much more of like a simulation.
More shields or more like speed.
A simulation vibe, and get maybe a little bit less casual than Fallout 4 was.
Yeah. Well, like you said with the boarding, I mean, I think that part was cool. There was literally a part where I was watching it, and I was like, oh man, that'd be so cool if you could board it. And then he boards it. Yeah. I was like, oh my god! Yeah. I was flipping out. It was so cool.
I think. And shout out to Wesley on this one. He'll love that I said this, but I think when the review scores come out for this, you're going to see some 10s, but I think you're going to see a lot more 9s because, I mean, it's a mixture of things. Because it's Bethesda and because of maybe some bugs or things like that.
There's going to be bugs.
But it's probably going to score lower than Zelda, and this is the part that I said that Wesley will love, is because Zelda has that baity, like Oscar bait type thing to it, where Zelda is just going to get its outstanding review scores. Here's the thing that maybe Wesley won't agree with is, to me, in every case except Skyward Sword, it deserved the scores that it got. But regardless of whether it deserves it or not, Zelda just has that baitiness to it where it always seems to get that. So I think because of Bethesda being Bethesda, what they're known for their bugs and 30 frames, Nintendo, like the 97, 96 score that Tears of the Kingdom got, which also Elden Ring got, because even though From Software's pretty much earned it, they're a darling as well. They got that score. Bethesda is always criticized. You got the bugs, you got the 30 frames. Bethesda's probably going to be more in that like 89, 90 range on Metacritic. They're going to get more 9 scores than 10s. But I think what's going to happen through Twitch streaming and content creation and the legacy of this game, like with the legacy of Skyrim, that game should have been a 10 out of 10 from everyone, right? Like that game is a 10, a bona fide 10.
I think Skyrim's like a 93, 94 on Metacritic.
It's a 100, right?
Well,
it's perfect.
You made me think of it earlier too, Crayton, but like it's so cool to see them kind of like acknowledging more like Oblivion stuff too with the adoring fan guy, because I feel like so much has just been like Skyrim. And I love Skyrim, but Oblivion is like night and day.
Let's get out of that bubble.
I play Oblivion more.
We're all huge Oblivion fans here. Crayton's favorite game of all time is Oblivion. Josh said
it's my second.
Even that interview with Ryan McCaffrey, he told Todd Howard, Oblivion's my favorite game you've ever made.
Yeah.
And,
Dude, it's awesome. Peak. I'm so far up this game's butt that I can smell that I had lo mein for lunch. It is. I am so excited for this now. Like, I mean, I really was at a point where I was like, I'm not excited for Starfield. I hope I get excited. And this was a case of like they did everything they could. It exceeded my expectations. Dude.
Oh, exceeded.
And I never had that. Like the part of me that everyone says is harsh and everything. Like I get that, but this was a moment where I was like, holy shit, they oversold me.
I think people are a little overcritical on Bethesda. Like, yes, their games have bugs, but they do things that no other games do. Like,
no one else can do.
Every item in the game
hasn't been replicated.
Every item in the game has. I know people always talk about Zelda's physics. Bethesda's been doing that since Oblivion.
Yeah, and it's also different. It's not
it is different, but every item has its own physics. Every NPC has their own set schedules. And that operates even if you're not there. Like when you get like in Skyrim when it's like, oh, somebody died, they left you an inheritance. That's going on in the background.
Yeah.
You don't even see it, but the game's still processing that all that's happening.
Right.
No other game does that.
Yeah.
Like Zelda is amazing, but when you go into a village, people are just standing there waiting to
doing
talk
the same
to you.
thing.
Yeah, they don't have schedules.
Yeah, I mean, Oblivion's in my top 10. It's all three of our top 10s. Like I said, obviously it's Crayton's number 1, Josh number 2. But just the experience, like the nostalgia we have for that game and the experiences, right? Like I know obviously that wasn't Bethesda's first game. There was Morrowind and there was the Daggerfall and the things before that. But like just that era of Oblivion and the zoom in on the faces and the adoring fan and the stupid animations and the jump where your knees don't buckle at all.
Yeah, the only thing I never liked about Oblivion was that the enemies scale with you, like level-wise. I
They
was able to go
that,
feel like
there is no embarrassment in changing the difficulty in Oblivion.
Yeah,
everyone knows that because the scaling.
You never get to feel OP on some goblins and stuff like that. But man, I hope they do something like that in Starfield, where someone dies or whatever that you supposedly knew, and then this courier somehow tracks you down, and they're like, got a special message just for you.
You're like on this planet that no one's ever explored.
Yeah,
and he comes
just shows up, scares the shit out of you, but then you're like, who the fuck?
Imagine
you're looking at it and you're like, oh, that he was my mate. He was my
Imagine
mate.
the things that could happen in this game, right? Because you could be like on some obscure planet. And you like find some, I don't know, treasure or artifact or something, and there's like warnings that says, do not steal this, do not take this, and you do anyways, and you seemingly get away with it, right? And then you're in space, and then like an army of ships surround you and just blow you out of the sky.
That sounds awesome, man.
Well, that one trait they said you can take, it makes it so if you're about to die, you're low health, you do more damage, but it makes it so bounty hunters just randomly will show up and attack you.
That's so cool to me. And I thought the creatures too on the procedural planets, they looked great. A lot of different designs, a lot of variations in there. Looked fun. And a lot of there was one concern I had with that, whereas a lot of the gameplay looked very corridor-ish in the preview, but then you saw some that were outside, but usually when it was outside, it was mainly fighting like aliens, like beasts and stuff. Yeah. But I know that's 40 minutes of what's probably going to be like a 200-hour game,
at
probably.
Least.
Yeah. So I mean, it looks amazing.
I'm concerned for my brother's health when this game comes out.
Oh, my wife's already getting mad at me.
Starfield's going to be the kind of game that where like Crayton and Josh are much more like purists in the sense that they'll do all the content. But me, even when I don't do all the content, we're talking Starfield's a 100-hour game for me still. So I guess I'm playing this from September all the way to. It's a good thing that Hellblade 2 isn't coming out this year, right? Like Microsoft's giving us a generational title that we can play forever. I can't wait for this game. I mean, what are your guys, like, as we wrap up, what is your guys' final thoughts on first Starfield and then the showcase as a whole? We're just going to get through June, all of July, all of August. Starfield's here.
Yeah. I was going to say, this is the first time in a long time I feel like all three of us were like 10 out of 10 hype for a game. Yeah. I mean, maybe Halo Infinite, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't quite. I want to say I was quite.
Me and Josh were way up there. You were probably 8 or 9.
Fallout 4, maybe 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But definitely, this is probably the most excited I've been since Skyrim.
Yeah, I get that, man. I get that.
This is so awesome.
It was amazing, and I love that they have all the collector's edition stuff because you feel the confidence behind it. They wouldn't be doing that if they didn't feel so big about this. And also, just like it feels like that whole complete package. Like if you're the person who wants to just literally like make Starfield your entire life. Here's all this stuff.
I want to do that, but
the watch, the headphones, the controller.
I just bought a Switch for the first time. I got the OLED one.
Nice.
That was $350 for a console. Do I want to spend $300 for a patch?
But you do picture yourself though, like propped up on the couch though. You get the headphones on, you get the controller playing the game. Like, let me land my ship. Let me see what time it is on my Starfield watch.
And you know what? I actually like watches a lot.
I have
a small watch collection, so it is super tempting. It's super tempting.
You're the guy to get it.
I could afford it. I just the 27-year-old in me is like,
I get it, man.
Don't do that. That's stupid.
There's a part of me that was like, am I gonna like 4 months from the game being out? Am I gonna like utilize any of that stuff? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like I'm gonna get it. I'm like, this is so cool. $300. Who cares? and then 3 months later it's going to be sitting on my shelf, and I'm not going to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still got my Elden One statue.
Do we feel like
Skyrim.
So it makes the game is like better when you have all that stuff.
Yeah, it is. So the conversation, didn't you do like a Starfield like game fuel or something like jet fuel or something?
They
like
are. There's like a
No way.
There's like an in-game soda that they have. It's like it almost looks like a Coke bottle. I can't remember the name of it. They're already out, I think.
No way.
That's awesome. That's
Wow.
awesome. But do we think so? So the conversation in the industry leading up to this has been Microsoft has to deliver now. This is the moment. If they don't, it's going to be hell to pay. I'm saying they completely delivered it, nailed it, knocked it out of the park. What do you guys think?
I do feel after the Kind of Funny podcast when he did say he felt pretty confident about their stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we see it now. Like the Redfall stuff definitely put a cloud over them, but that cloud's kind of gone. So it's nice to see. You know, it's nice. I feel positive about Xbox. I feel optimistic. There's highs and there's lows. Like stuff I'm like super interested in, like Starfield. Stuff I'm like, okay, I want to see more on, like Fable and Avowed and all that stuff. But feels really good, man. They got a lot of momentum right now. And to
You
be
feel
fair,
like they nailed it, Crayton? I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were coming to an end.
I think they nailed it. The more we talk, the more I'm like, yeah, I think it's probably more than an 8 out of 10 objectively. What was I going to say?
Oh, like this was Xbox is bringing it.
I was going to say for Sony, this was just a really weird. Like, they've never done a showcase like this.
Yeah.
And it's just really odd.
It feels like Sony leaned more into the Microsoft-isms, and Microsoft leaned more into the Sony-isms,
yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely, man.
And I think just from what we've seen, the chances of Starfield coming out and being a dud are like 0.
Yeah, worst case scenario is like a high 8 or something, which is like, but I don't even see that, though, but, maybe.
I look forward to Xbox stuff every year, and every year I feel like let down, and, but it's because I always want to be like, Xbox is the top of the food chain for me, like the one I'm most interested in, the one I want to see succeed the most. And when I see the showcase, I mean, even though I felt like it's more of like a 6 out of 10, the Starfield pushed it up to that in a lot of ways. But it's like, for me, it was the other stuff was so-so. But it feels good to be an Xbox fan again. It feels exciting.
I finally have something to play on my Xbox.
Yeah,
it's not Halo Infinite.
I mean, how cool is that?
If the showcase was like this every year from going on for the future,
because that was
the funny thing is, the 45-minute showcase for a Bethesda game is like. It's like watching a 30-second video for another game. Like it's nothing.
No, I get it.
Okay, so final verdicts will go around before I get us out of here. Crayton, what's your hype on Starfield, and then what's your final verdict for the showcase objectively?
Hype, above 10. I'll just say 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
maximum hype for games.
Most hype I've been since Skyrim, and Skyrim was the most hype I've ever been for a game.
True. I saw it. Me and Josh saw it firsthand. That is true for Crayton.
I thought I was excited.
We're not going to rehash that story because you told it before, but I was super excited for Skyrim. Objectively, I think I'm going to say...
For the whole showcase.
Just because of the fact that there's still not a lot of firm release dates, I'll have to go 9.
You're going to go up to 9?
I'm going to go up to 9, but I can't give it a perfect 10.
Okay.
Subjectively,
it's not perfect for me either, but it is a 10 for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, 9. Okay.
Overall for me, objectively, still 6 out of 10, but it's mainly Starfield that pushed it up there. It's pretty much for the same reasons Crayton said. I'm just the harsher critic.
What was the year? What would you give last year's Xbox? I mean, I can't really remember it that well, but obviously it was less than
it was
a
definitely
6.
it was definitely less. Yeah, it was probably like a 2 or a 4, whatever I had the summer Game Fest and Sony one at.
Where's your Starfield hype?
Oh, like 10 out of 10.
Yep.
10 out of 10. I mean, they literally made me excited for the game and then made me hyped for it. Like I felt like I was like maybe a 5 out of 10 excitement level for that game. I just needed to see more, and I mainly wanted to see more of a sense of the story, interacting with characters, conversations, companions, romance options, and they gave me all that and so much more. And the fact that every corner, every facet was expunged on, made every other facet like retroactively enhanced one another. Like they all complement one another so well. This game looks like it's going to be so much fun to get lost in.
10 objective for me for the showcase. Starfield hype, 10 out of 10 as well. I mean, 10 out of 10 as much as I can be as a 30-year-old, right? Like, if you look at like past kid experiences, like, this is probably a 7, because past kid experiences, I'm like, all I can do is talk about it and freak out.
Is there any part of you coming out of this game where you're like, this game was better than the birth of my child?
No. No.
He had a big pause.
I've gotten too old for that.
I know.
I so much want to give in to my immature self, but I'm going to have, when it comes out, I'm going to have to be like, I got to go to work. I got to do the dishes. I got to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
Actually mow the lawn, Brian, not 15 minutes like you.
Yeah. I feel bad. I feel bad for my wife because it's like she can see me. She can like probably read my brain working through my eyes where I'm like, I come home and I'm like, what would you like me to do for you? What would you want me to do the lawn? Okay.
So why are you starting with that?
Dishes? Okay, yeah, okay. I do it all. But there's very much in my voice she can tell what I'm saying is I'm trying to get this shit out the way so I can be left alone to play Starfield. And that's not what your wife wants to hear. She wants to feel like you lovingly and happily want to do these things.
That's what I do, but my wife's nice enough. She'll probably be like, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And I'll be like, thank you.
We'll see what happens. But Josh, you had 2 questions for you.
Yeah, Crayton, is there any chance that somehow with this game you end up loving it more over Oblivion?
Because of nostalgia.
Is there a potential for that? With
There's
this one?
potential.
Okay.
And this is another thing I thought before is like, I know Bethesda doesn't do remasters, but if they ever did, I'm like, I don't even want them to remaster Oblivion.
Because just perfect how
Part of the charm of that game is how janky and ugly it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, if they remastered it and the faces look like Starfield faces, I'd be like, this isn't...
No, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
It's
a good point.
No.
So I guess there is a chance, but... And I think I do prefer science fiction over fantasy.
I do not, by any means. No,
I think I do. There's a chance, but I probably not.
If you had to guess, being realistic, where do you think Starfield will go as in your favorite Bethesda games? Well, you think it'll be 2, 3, 4? Like, if it's not 1...
I could
10?
see it.
Well, is there even 10, like, Bethesda Softworks games out there? I don't even know if there is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see it potentially being above Skyrim, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite
I
games
could see that too
ever.
for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you had another question, John?
Yes. What do you guys think? So we have. What do you guys think the legacy of this game is going to be? Like, if we go to Elder Scrolls next, and then Fallout, and maybe we cycle back around to Starfield 2, do you think there's a point? Like, I feel like all of us are ready for Elder Scrolls. We're all ready for another Fallout eventually. But like, do you think there's going to be a point when we're playing one of those games and we're going, man, I really miss Starfield. If I could swap out Fallout for another Starfield, I'll do it.
I think the legacy of Starfield is going to be Xbox's turning point.
Yeah.
It was when Xbox, not only turned around, but like this future they had. And I'm not necessarily a big fan of the future of like cloud streaming, Game Pass crap, but like this could be the legacy. Could be that's when like Xbox got Starfield, and they're the only ones that had it. And that's before, like, looking back, like, let's say it's been 10 years from now. Looking back, we can say we've already played Hellblade, Avowed, Fable, all this stuff. And Starfield was what kicked it off. That was its legacy. We should probably move on quick, though, because I saw the fam just pulled back up.
Okay.
Was
can wrap
that your
up.
last question, John?
Yeah, no, that was it. But yeah, happy. Can't wait for Starfield.
I think we're all hyped through the roof. I think even if, Josh is more at the 6, Crayton's at a 9, I'm at a 10. Xbox delivered more than they delivered what they needed to.
I appreciate you commenting. Brian's looking at me as he says that.
Like they delivered what they needed to deliver for this showcase.
Yeah.
Starfield looked incredible. We're all so happy, guys. We got to record this in person.
I know, this is amazing.
Me and Josh.
So cool.
Let's clap our hands so they can tell that this is like happening. Like you can hear it.
I'll give you 5 too. Yeah.
But to be here with Josh in person and with my brother Crayton and to record this.
Very surreal. Very cool.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Xbox really nailed it. This was an awesome time. We're so excited for the summer of gaming. We're going to be playing Starfield in less than 3 months. It's amazing. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And as always, keep it sacred.